I had lived in Cedar Grove for years, a quiet, friendly town where people minded their own business, waved at each other from their porches, and never got too involved in what their neighbors were doing. At least, that's how it used to be. Then the new housing complex went up. Fancy homes, gated driveways, and with it came new residents, people who wanted to improve the community. One of them, Karen Thompson. From the moment she arrived, she made it her mission to bring order to Cedar Grove. And how did she do it? By forming a voluntary HOA. At first it seemed harmless. She talked about community beautification and raising property values. But soon she started handing out rules. No unapproved decorations. No parking in driveways overnight. No mailboxes that didn't match the HOA's official aesthetic guidelines. And the worst part? She expected everyone to follow them. One evening, I found a letter in my mailbox. Dear resident, we are excited to welcome you to our new HOA community. We encourage you to join and comply with our neighborhood guidelines to ensure a better future for Cedar Grove. I smirked and tossed the letter into the trash. I wasn't joining anything. I was the county sheriff. I followed the law, not some power-hungry Karen's made-up rule book. And something told me she wasn't gonna like that. Dust one, HOA's war on the mailbox. I knew Karen wouldn't take no for an answer, but I didn't expect her to declare full-scale war on my mailbox. It started small. I caught her lurking across the street, snapping pictures like some kind of undercover detective. At first, I ignored it. Crazy people do crazy things. But then, the letters started arriving. At first, they were polite invitations to join the HOA. We would love for you to be part of our growing community. Membership ensures your property remains valuable and well-maintained. Then they turned into warnings. Your mailbox does not conform to community standards. Failure to comply may result in further action. Your property's aesthetics affect everyone's home values. I crumpled them up and tossed them in the trash. Then one morning, I stepped outside and nearly spit out my coffee. There, in the latest HOA newsletter, was a full-page article about my damn mailbox. The headline? Eyesores in our community when neighbors refuse to follow the rules. And right there, a big full-color picture of my old mailbox with a giant red circle around it as if it were a crime scene. I shook my head, chuckling. She was really this obsessed. Hatch 2. Karen tries to use the law against me. Then, things escalated. Apparently, Karen wasn't happy just harassing me through newsletters and passive-aggressive letters. No, she started calling my own damn sheriff's office. Over the next week, my deputies kept getting the same absurd complaint. Sheriff Mitchell's mailbox is a public nuisance. It's a safety hazard. It's an eyesore. He is refusing to comply with community regulations. Every time she called, my deputies had to politely remind her that HOA rules didn't apply to non-members. But Karen, she wasn't giving up. And then she made her biggest mistake yet. She sent a rookie cop to my house, Tommy Jenkins. Poor kid had only been on the force for about 3 months. I saw his patrol car pull up, and when he stepped out, he already looked nervous as hell. I smirked, crossing my arms. This was gonna be fun. Tommy, I greeted, leaning against my porch. What brings you out here? He cleared his throat, adjusting his belt. Sheriff Mitchell, sir, I received a complaint about your mailbox. I raised an eyebrow. You don't say. Tommy shifted uncomfortably. Yes, sir. Mrs. Thompson from the HOA said it's, in violation of, something? I stared at him. He stared at me. Then I cracked a smile. Tommy, do you know who you're talking to? His face turned beet red. Yes, sir, I chuckled. And do you know what law I'm breaking? Yes, he swallowed hard. No, sir. I patted him on the shoulder. Then why don't you go back and tell Karen that if she keeps wasting police resources, she's gonna have a real problem. Tommy nodded so fast, I thought his head might fall off. Yes, sir. Right away, sir. I watched him practically sprint back to his car. As he drove off, I took a slow sip of my coffee. Karen had just run out of options. But something told me she wasn't done yet. Facing the truth. The next morning, I was just about to enjoy my coffee when I heard a bang, bang! The kind of knock that screamed self-importance. I sighed, already knowing who it was. Sure enough, when I opened the door, there stood Karen Thompson, clipboard clutched in one hand, her signature scowl firmly in place. And beside her, Officer Tommy Jenkins. Oh, this was about to be good. Karen, not even bothering to look at me properly, launched into a speech. "Sheriff Mitchell, I have had enough of your defiance. I have called the authorities." She gestured dramatically at Jenkins, "to finally deal with this nuisance once and for all." She smirked like she had just won a Supreme Court case. Then, finally, she looked up, and her face went completely pale, because for the first time, she actually noticed what I was wearing. My sheriff's uniform, the badge, the name tag, everything. Her mouth opened, closed, opened again. I could practically hear her brain short-circuiting. Tommy, meanwhile, looked like he wanted the ground to swallow him whole. Oh no," he muttered under his breath. I leaned against the doorframe, grinning. "So, you sent the police to deal with the police chief?" Karen's eye twitched. The rookie learns a hard lesson. Poor Tommy looked like he was about to have a full-blown crisis. "Sir, I didn't." He cleared his throat. "I'm sorry, Sheriff, I didn't realize." I held up a hand. "Relax, Jenkins, you were just doing your job." Karen snapped out of her daze. "That doesn't change anything. This mailbox is still a violation of HOA standards, and I will not allow my community to be." I cut her off, deadpan. "Karen." She stopped mid-rant. I took a slow sip of my coffee. "Do you understand how laws work?" She blinked. "Excuse me?" I gestured toward the street. "See that road? That's HOA property." Then I pointed behind me to my house. "And this isn't." But the community standards don't mean a damn thing outside your HOA, I said firmly. "You don't own my property. You don't have authority here. And no matter how many rookie cops you drag to my door, that's not going to change." Jenkins visibly shrunk. Karen, fuming, I could see the exact moment she realized she had lost. Her face twitched, her fists clenched around the clipboard, but she had nothing. For the first time ever, Karen Thompson was speechless. I smirked. "Well, if that's all, I have a mailbox to not change." And with that, I closed the door right in her face. Shot one. 808 Karen loses support. The moment Karen walked away from my doorstep, defeated, the news spread like wildfire. By noon, half the neighborhood was talking about it. By sunset, they were laughing about it. She tried to find the sheriff and brought a cop to his own house? Oh, that's priceless. So all this time, she had zero real authority? Karen had spent months acting like the HOA was some all-powerful government agency. But now, everyone knew the truth. She was just a lady with a clipboard and an inflated ego. And once people realized she had no actual power, they stopped listening. Neighbors ignored her warning letters. People stopped attending her ridiculous HOA meetings. One guy even started mowing his lawn in sandals and socks just to spite her. The illusion was shattered. And the HOA board, they weren't happy. That night, they called an emergency meeting because Karen hadn't just embarrassed herself. She had embarrassed all of them. To the community revolts. A few days later, the neighborhood held a public meeting. But this time, it wasn't Karen leading the discussion. It was her angry HOA members. And they had questions. Why were we told HOA membership was mandatory when it wasn't? Why are we being fined for things that aren't even illegal? And why the hell did you waste HOA funds printing newsletters about a mailbox? Karen tried to defend herself, tried to talk over people, insisting the HOA was for their own good. But then, one by one, residents stood up and shared their stories. The elderly couple who had been harassed over their front door color. The single mother fined $200 because her garbage bins weren't HOA approved. The veteran down the street forced to take down his American flag because it wasn't on the list of acceptable outdoor decor. People weren't just annoyed anymore. They were angry. And then someone proposed the vote. Who here thinks it's time to dissolve the HOA once and for all? Hands shot up, one after another. Karen turned pale. She tried one last desperate plea. But what about property values? What about neighborhood aesthetics? You need me! Silence. Then, finally, someone chuckled. Karen, we don't need a dictator to tell us how to live. We just need a mailbox that works. The room erupted in cheers, and just like that, the HOA was dead. 1. Karen loses everything. After the HOA was officially dissolved, Karen did something shocking. She disappeared. No more clipboard patrols. No more angry rants about property values. No more late-night emails about approved grass links. It was like she had vanished off the face of the earth. Rumors started spreading. Did she move? I heard her family is selling the house. I bet she couldn't stand living in a place where she had no control. Sure enough, within a week, a for sale sign popped up in Karen's front yard. A week later, she was gone. No farewell, no goodbyes, just an empty house and a dead HOA. And the neighborhood, they celebrated. 2. The community celebrates their freedom. The first thing people did after Karen left, they threw a party. No HOA restrictions, no community aesthetic rules. Just grilled food, cold drinks, and the sweet taste of victory. And the symbol of that victory, my old beaten-up mailbox. People lined up to take pictures with it. One guy even jokingly saluted it, calling it the mailbox of freedom. I just shook my head, laughing at the absurdity of it all. 3. One last change on my terms. A few weeks later, I finally repainted the mailbox, not because of some HOA regulation, not because Karen demanded it, but because I wanted to. I stood back admiring the fresh coat of paint, sipping my coffee. For the first time in a long while, the neighborhood was finally at peace. And as far as I was concerned, that was the only community improvement that ever mattered. The end. Vi. The meaningful ending. With Karen gone and the HOA buried, Cedar Grove finally felt like home again. No more fake violation notices. No more forced neighborhood meetings. No more power-hungry clipboard warriors telling people how to live their lives. People waved at each other again. Neighbors helped one another, not because of rules, but because that's what a real community does. And the mailbox? It became legendary. The story spread beyond Cedar Grove. People from other neighborhoods came to see it. Some called it the mailbox that took down an HOA. Others called it the last stand of freedom. One guy even suggested putting a plaque on it. I told him, let's not get carried away. But deep down, I got it. It wasn't about the mailbox. It was about what it stood for. The sheriff's final thought. I didn't care about winning against Karen. I wasn't looking for a fight. I just wanted people to live their lives without someone telling them how to. And now, they finally could. I leaned back in my chair, sipping my coffee, watching as kids rode their bikes down the street. No HOA breathing down their necks about approved bicycle colors. The town had fixed itself, not because of some rule book, but because people cared about each other. And as far as I was concerned, that was the only community rule that ever mattered. The end.